Welcome, Sagittarius, to your Sagittarius 2022 annual reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James. For those of you who are stopping by for the first time, great to meet you. The subscribers and I hope to see more of you in the future. Now, I'm going to draw 12 cards, one card for each month of the year. Now, time does have its part to play in how much we can do with each of these cards for this reading. So we're going to give you just the facts, Jack. And if you want to see really in-depth readings, then go to the monthly readings, which as a subscriber you get each delivered to you each month. But otherwise, just search for me for the month, or just go to the playlist. And the playlist on the channel, it's very easy, it's very conveniently set out. It just has the current month's reading and the month before it, and then as the calendar year progresses, the bottom one just gets deleted to make sure it stays all manageable for you. Now, what have we got here? Oh, this is interesting. Good. Oh, I'm glad that's there. Now, January through to June, we have the Six of Swords, the Three of Wands, the Queen of Coins, the Page of Swords, the Ten of Swords, and the Six of Coins, which is really, really good news. Great first half of the year, I must say. And I'm going to use my pen probably to point out some of the really interesting aspects of the artwork that's on these cards, because the art will give you subconsciously an idea as to what is happening, as well as the facts that I give you and the astrology that connects with each of the cards. The Hermit, the Seven of Swords, Judgment, you go over there, card, which is not part of the reading, which is there for energy. The Queen of Cups, we need two more, hey? So, let's see what they are. There's the Six of Wands. Oh, great, I love that card. And what's this one? Justice. Well, don't we all want that in our lives? Okay, now, why don't you come, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the artwork on the paintings on these beautiful medieval deck together while I do the reading for you. Now, I think you can see those. We're going to look at the art on these cards because the depictions of the paintings will unlock information and impressions which are imprisoned in your subconscious as well. So we'll spend some time pointing out some of the features as well as doing the reading, because they form part of the reading. Now, what do we have in this picture here? Well, Six of Wands. This is the Lord of earned success, by the way, for you. A great start to the year. Now, Six Wands here form a mandala. That's like a Tibetan Buddhist image which is used to meditate upon. And it's also used in other forms of Buddhism as well. Now, in the center there is an illumination, there's an illuminated center here. Now, that is because with the number 6, at least for me, the Six of Wands, the 6 here, I have a great association with Christ consciousness, with Krishna consciousness, and with the consciousness of Vishnu. Now, what else can we say here? So you'll have divine energy around you all of this month. Now, the hilts of the swords are messages. Can you see them here? And they're tied up with black ribbon. And let me see here also. The rider is, I think, St. Paul, and he falls from his horse on the road to Damascus when God makes his presence known to him. The horse rears up in fear, and Paul is blinded by the divine presence. This is Mercury ruling the second decanate of Aquarius, the 30th of January to the 9th of February. Now, the air planet of Mercury finds itself in the fixed sign of air, which is Aquarius. Now that's good. Mercury in Aquarius. The thing is also that Mercury happens to be exalted in Aquarius, so this is really good for you from an intellectual point of view and from a communications point of view. It really does highlight the intellectual qualities of this card. Now, Aquarius is an air sign which is detached and intellectual by nature, and Mercury's ability to analyze things brings you a clear perspective going forward. And I think that this astrology suggests a somewhat detached but balanced assessment of a situation needs to be undertaken by you. You need to analyze something without bias and without too much emotion in order to get the best result. Now, I know that Aquarius is also the sign of innovation and originality, and so it might also be that you'll be able to represent, by way of communication, ideas that you have that are new, even unconventional, in a very orderly way. So you'll have the ability to analyze, to unify ideas. You'll have an all-encompassing vision, an all-embracing understanding, which is great for this time of year, and a great degree of objectivity, I'll say, during this period as well. What do we have here? Here is the Three of Wands. Hello, three. Well, Three of Wands, three men are climbing to the top of this tree. There's the first, there's the second, sitting on a sort of a platform there, and there's the third with his... Look, in Kabbalistic mysticism, this is a motif which is recognizable, but I'm not going to go into the Kabbalah at this time. Very often we do in the monthly readings. Otherwise, that picture is straightforward. It means going ahead, going forward. And the reason for that is because it's the sun in the second decan of Aries, the 31st of March to the 9th of April. Now, the sun is also exalted in Aries, and so this placement is very favorable, and Aries enjoys a challenge, and Aries suns are happiest when their lives are moving forward. Do you know, I think you'll also see your ideas, which you've started to have from here, crystallizing now. The confirmation is here that you are on the right path. I see there could well be some expansion in business activities that you are undertaking. It's also quite possible that you may be considering how you might turn a hobby into something of a small business. So what do we have next? We have a lovely lady here. Three. Let's have a look. Is it the three? That was the three. This is the Queen. Let's have a look at her. Well, something of an exotic woman here is dressed in billowing blue, gold and pink robes, the colors of the suit of coins. She is like the allegory of Venice by Paolo Veronese. Now, she tosses a coin up which shows a woman nursing two babies, one on either breast that is there. And what else is there here? Well, she has a crown on her head, which is of the crown similar to that of the king. And that is because in those days, Venice was really like a republic with an aristocracy of rich merchants. There is a golden bowl in her lap, and she lets fall from it a number of golden coins. You can see them falling down there. Now the ground is green here. The ground around her is green. Oh, and down here on the bottom left, there appears to be a rich dish of boiled ox head. Don't you just love the idea of that, with a lemon in its mouth and carrots to the side? And then on the ground along, there is a glass adorned with sapphires and filled with a precious liqueur. To the right is a dish with, looks like pills or medicines and things associated with it, and she rests her feet on a red pillow. Now the other person who might be important to you during this time is Capricorn. I'm getting a lot of Capricorn energy around here. I also happen to have a lot of Sagittarius energy around here, I have to tell you. Now, these court cards, of course, can be of either gender, irrespective of how they're depicted, but I refer to her as a woman for the obvious reasons. And she is a woman who is ambitious, affectionate and kind, charming, timid, practical, quite domesticated in a funny sort of a way, I think. It's very good energy for people who are involved in home duties and cooking and beautifying the surroundings here. I think that you will be ambitious, but it's a time for you to work with instinct and intuition rather than your intellect. Now, I'm not saying that you are not intellectual. I know that you are. But just for this time, don't go creating any revolutions. Don't go importing any left field ideas, but rather just sort of keep a low profile, hardworking, practical and sensible. The other interesting thing about here is that this is the type of person who can, in a reticent and unassuming way, actually be quite lusty and sexy. And, well, it's always the quiet ones, isn't it? And can be given to drink and drugs almost as if that's the only way that they can realize their essential happiness. But for you here, it's a time of fruitfulness. It's also a time when you have overcome and really in your own mind said, I have finally overcome what might have been something of a barren past. And it's important that you look after your physical health during this time as well. Let's have a look here at this page. Well, the figure here is actually that of the decadent character of the Commedia dell'arte. He's called Brighella, back from that Renaissance time, and he stands in a setting like that that's used in the play that he was a character in at the time there. Now, Brighella was a sly villain, and he would do anything for money. He wears white robes trimmed in green and lined in yellow, and a peacock feather decorates his floppy hat here. Now, I also see here that there is the glint of armor from underneath his clothing there. Do you see that? He slyly covers one eye with his hand, while in the other hand he holds a sword with a fox head, by the looks of it, on the top of it there. You might be quite cunning during this period. And a black cat slinks in front of him. Now, people important to you during this period will, I think, be people with sun or risings in Aquarius, in Capricorn, and in Pisces. Now, this is a person who can be quite stern and revengeful, firm and aggressive, but definitely skilled in the ways of the world. You'll be able to deal with situations involving the mind in a very tangible way. That is, you'll be able to manifest your thoughts and turn them into a reality. But just be aware of being maybe stern or quite revengeful. Look, I do have to say this, that you will show great cleverness and dexterity in the management of practical affairs, especially if they're of a controversial nature. If there's arguments or negotiations of things around there, you'll be very goal-oriented and you'll be able to settle arguments very easily. And I think people might come to you to do that, you know. You will be coming out of the clouds and into clarity. You'll have victory over your moods, but there may well be a sense of rebellion with you at this time as well. It might well be that you kind of feel like throwing everything overboard and starting with something new. And if you do that, in time, it will turn out that things that you have chosen right. There. Now, I'm glad that card turned there, because it's looking at this Ten of Swords, and so it's saying that if there are things that have been concerning you, don't worry, this guy is saying that it is going to turn out. So let's have a look at this 10 and see what it might have to say. Now, on the art here, the 10 swords are arranged in a geometrical pattern. On the top of the swords here are figures that have got those Roman togas and holding daggers in their hands which are dripping blood. Do you know, I would say that they are some of the people who assassinated Julius Caesar on the steps of the Senate on the Ides of March in 44 BC. Down here there's 1, 2 women and a third one throwing herself down on the ground dressed in black. This is a graveyard scene. Now, what used to happen during the Renaissance period is that people used to have and hire professional mourners, people who would come to a funeral and wail and gnash their teeth and cry and do all this sort of business. Well, this is what these women are doing for a living. And these flowers here, they're chrysanthemums, which are a graveyard flower. And in the middle here is a fly. Well, I think this represents the Lord of Flies, the beast, the unclean one, Satan, Satan, the devil. And he lays his eggs on the rotting corpses in the graveyard. Now, sometimes this can be seen as being a bad card, but it's all about placement, and you've got this 6 of coins on this side of it and this page of swords there, so I'm not too concerned about it in this reading for you. But what does it mean? Well, it's the sun ruling the 3rd decan of Gemini, 12th to the 20th of June. Now, here, the sun in Gemini is difficult because Gemini disperses the sun's energy and it can disperse your focus on things. And so your focus can be entirely upon the intellect. The swords is the suit of the mind and the intellect. And here the intellectual energy is unstable, as the 10 of swords the 10 is unstable. What happens is that the divine energy moves through each of the tarot cards in order. And this is in the 3rd world. The first world is that of fire, the second world is that of water, the third world is that of air, which this is in, and this is about to break and the energy is about to go into the 4th world, that of space and time and matter. So this energy is something that's passing here. But what it's suggesting to me is that there could be things that you have been, maybe there was a negative outcome on something that you had your heart set on. I don't think it's anything dramatic. It could be that you've got almost like a buyer's remorse over something you have chosen. You may be saying to yourself, I feel miserable because I've made the wrong choice over something. It could also be that during this period that you hear that somebody else in a relationship has broken up with their partner. It could also be that there is some negative thinking going on in yourself. You need to look at where the fears in your life lie at this time and change the way that you are dealing with them, because the situation is also a threat to your external conditions. Now, that's because you are what you think. You understand that, don't you? But this is only for a period of time here. You, with your great Sagittarian optimism, overcome this, and we get it into this month of June with this fantastic energy here, which by the way, as I've said, this energy here, that 10 of swords is squashed between 2 very favorable energies there. Not every day can have the sun shining without a cloud in it, but this is certainly clear sky here. Now in the painting here, there is a soldier here standing holding his staff. What's interesting though is the imagery that's on the 6 coins, this being the 6 of coins of course, because it tells us what's going on. Here there is a miser luxuriating in his chest full of gold coins. Here is the chariot of Jupiter, your ruling planet. Here is a fool who has lost everything. Here is a fool who is rejoicing because he has come into some money. Here is a rose which is in the shape of a mandala, Remember, we spoke about the mandala over there with the Six of Swords. And up here is a rich man with a set of scales, providing some precious metal, probably gold, to a man who is poor and begging. Now, what this is, of course, is what I call the Lord of material success. Material success for you at this time. It is the moon ruling the second decan of Taurus, the 1st to the 10th of May. Now, in ordinary astrology, the moon is exalted in Taurus, which is a good sign, but the moon's transient nature means that success may be short-lived. Now, that's not a bad thing, because understand that success is not a continuous thing. You have a success, you have a success, you have another one, you have another one, you have another one. It's just not one thing the whole time. But you will be having success during this month of June. The moon, you see, in Taurus, well, the moon likes nurturing and comfort, and Taurus likes material things, so they are really well suited for bringing about material success. There's generosity here, paying things forward and also receiving things gratefully. You may be receiving a financial boost. There could be a grant of a scholarship. If those are making application to the welfare system, I think that's going to turn out to be okay as well. There's the external manifestation of inner success, transformation coming through here for you. The moon nurtures the material desires of Taurus, and so your material desires are going to be satisfied. Don't we love that? Oh. Now here we have the hermit, well, an old man here. Now, this area out the back here, I would say that is Mount Athos. Mount Athos is in Greece, and it has on that mountain about 20 or so monasteries. Legend has it that the Virgin Mary went to that part of the world and was so enraptured with the scenery there that she asked her son Jesus, who was still alive at that time obviously, to turn it into a garden for her, which he dutifully did as a good son. And so the legend has it that since that time, the only woman who could set foot in the area of Mount Athos was the Virgin Mary. Otherwise men could do, but those of a spiritual inclination who were monks. And so he is dressed, I think, as one of the monks of Mount Athos. That's a hat that they wear. Now his cloak would ordinarily have been black, but it seems to me that it has been faded by the sunlight that's here. He has a undergarment which is made of straw. He carries the lantern, an hourglass-shaped lantern of the hermit. Now on his staff here, which he uses to support himself, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 roses from the bud through to the full-blown rose, and that is symbolic of the 7 stages of life. At the bottom of the staff, and you may see it round there in a sort of a violet color, there is a snake eating its own tail, and that is a sign of eternity. Now he stands on the water, and in the water there are some ships, but there's this interesting figure here of the whale. That is reminiscent of the story of Jonah in the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. Jonah was aboard a ship which was in a storm at sea. His fellow seamen thought he was the cause of the storm, so they threw him overboard, and he was rescued by being swallowed by, well, the text, if you read Jonah, actually says it was a great fish, but the legend ever since has been that it was a whale, and he was inside the whale for 3 days. You'll notice that 3 and also 40 are days that recur frequently throughout Hebrew and Christian scriptures and spiritual analogies. And he went on to go inland and to the city of Nineveh, and he passed on a warning from God that unless the citizens there mended their ways, that they would be destroyed. They did mend their ways, and they thought that Jonah was a good guy. So that's what I think is happening there. I call him the prophet of the eternal, the magus of the voice of power. I think that this is a period where you may well mentor or coach somebody else. You'll have a great love of learning. Now, you may not be undertaking a college course, but I think that you'll be probably spending some time on the internet finding out things. Now, it doesn't mean to say that you need to be finding out things about quantum mechanics, but you could be looking up recipes. You could be looking up ideas for hair and makeup. You could be saying, what watch should I buy, or what cell phone is the best? You're going to be improving your knowledge, not in specific areas even, but even in just general knowledge areas. You'll have an inspiration within you that's almost like a divine inspiration, a great deal of wisdom with you here. I think you'll be finding your own light and going inward. There's the completion of matters around you at the moment, and harvest coming your way. From the efforts that you put in the past, you'll start to be reaping rewards of the time and energy that you put into things. In a sense, I think, though, you might also be resting in your own center. You'll be a wise guide for other people, and funnily enough, and this might seem unusual for you, but I think that you could have some degree of patience during this period. Let's have a look at this card here. Now here we have what I would say is an alchemist who has obtained and discovered the secret of immortality. The reason why I say that is because he looks like he's an old man and he's lost his hair, but if you look at his face, it looks like the face of a child. And so I suggest that that means that there's some immortality, or that there is immortality associated with him. Now, he is undertaking an alchemical process here, which is symbolized by this raven and by this rainbow that's there. The raven, incidentally, is also flying off with his gold ring. At the top of the hilts of the swords here, they're things called harpies. Now, harpies they're from Greek mythology. They appeared in the poems of Homer, and you may be able to make out, they were half bird and half woman, and you may be able to make out the breasts of the women. Now, this is the moon ruling the I think the third decan of Aquarius, the 9th to the 18th of February. Well, the emotions of the moon, and I think also this number 7. See, the number 7 here mystically has an association with the planet Venus, and Venus is that feminine planet. It can sometimes be, in addition to other things that it does, it can be very emotional, and emotions can ride high at the time. Sometimes for good, sometimes in a way which kind of defies any logic whatsoever. So the moon and Venus here, they cloud the intellectual qualities of Aquarius. Aquarius is thus weakened, which has given you a sense of that lack of clarity, sort of coming through here. That's the time when Gemini was dispersing things. This is a similar sort of an energy, but it's in a different way. It's not that your ideas are being scattered. It's almost like you can't see clearly. It's like looking through an opaque window. I think what it is that you may have the feeling here where there's some, and again, we're in the suit of swords, which is about the mind, there may be mental procrastination involved with you. You may be procrastinating doing things. What I also think is the case is this, and what's coming after it? Great cards, good, but what's a feeling here is that it's almost as if you're worn out. I think you will be doing just enough to get by, almost as if you are just coasting. And I think really, maybe you'll find that you are working beneath your own high standards. There's an inconstancy about you, if I can put it that way. But this is going to be disappearing. What do we have? Well, in this case here in Judgment, we have a city of tombs, and from it some hands of the dead grope up. There are 1, two men, one an older man and a woman, rising up from the tombs in response to this trumpet call from the angel here. The angel's hair is billowing, the blue winds are there, and together the blue winds and this gold around it signifies to me the Swan galaxy in the Milky Way. This is the spirit of the primal fire, this card here. Now, I think that you will be making a decision which has a major impact on your life, such as a lifestyle choice or a career choice. It may not seem to you at the time that it is a major decision, but when you look back, you'll find out that, oh, I have gone down a particular course as a result, and these are positive. I've got to tell you. You could have some life-changing experience. You could have a religious experience. It's certainly time for you to move on after having seen the bigger picture with things, and I think you'll be taking time out to see the bigger picture. It's a natural period, this, of growth and shedding things and people which no longer serve you. I don't mean shedding people in a bad way. It's just that you know that as you grow, as you get older, as you get more experienced, some people just tend to be left behind. They don't sort of keep up with your speed, you know, and so it's easier to just gently let those people go here. I think you'll be highly discriminating and discerning this time. Where does that take us to next? Let's have a look at the Queen of Cups. Hello, Queen of Cups. Well, on the sea here, water for cups, of course, it looks like there's three things floating on it. There's a galleon, there's this shell, and there's like a little kind of paper boat. I don't know what that's doing there. I think the artist of the deck might have just used that out of artistic license. Now, the central figure, of course, is this woman, who I think is a nun. She has a headdress which is made up of her, like a crown, which is gold and hearts that's here, but she's wearing this thing which makes me think that she's a nun, otherwise having this pink gauze all around her. She's in the same form as Venus by Botticelli. Now, the people important to you during this period will be Cancer and Gemini, I would say, for you. Now, generally, the characteristics of this woman, I think, well, in fact, no, specifically, she depends, her character depends mostly on the influences that affect her. And she's very much at the disposal of every impact and impression that's coming around to her from the outside. So you're going to be very influenced by what's going on from the outside around you. You know how your mother told you that you're judged by the company that you keep? Well, be very careful during this time to make sure that the people and surroundings that you're in and dealing with aren't negative. This is not the month to be putting up with idiots. Leave them to another time. Leave the fools and idiots to another time. Just look after yourself and more productive people and situations. You'll be very intuitive, I think, during this time, rather than intellectualizing things. You'll be an observer. You could well be quite dreamy and tranquil and poetic in a sense as well. Do you know what? I think you could have some psychic awareness during this period, I've got to say. You'll be able to see yourself in others and also see through others and reflect that back to them. Yeah. Emotions will be shown openly by you. Motherhood is something I see around here, not surprisingly, I guess, or parenthood. Or you may hear of pregnancies, you may hear of parenthood, you may be becoming a parent. Great energy there, great energy indeed. A lot of emotional integrity with that card. Well, the images on this Six of Wands are all servants. Here is a coachman there with his staff. Here is a mace bearer sitting in there. Now here is a, what do you call these things? A jester holding a club up here, and it's got a tambourine on it. Here is a farmer or a gardener, I'd expect, and there is his water thing beside him. Here is the cook with a number of things down the side there, which are, I'd say, figs, plums, fish, lemons, and a nice big bottle of wine. And here is the scullery maid with her kerchief around her head. You'll be pleased to know that this is the Lord of Victory for me. It is Jupiter, your planet, ruling the second decan of Leo, the 3rd to the 12th of August. Now, Jupiter is all about love, expansion, and philosophy, isn't it? And this combines well with the creativity of Leo, and so you have success in achieving your goals. Leo is also ruled by the Sun, and we're in the suit of wands here, and the 6, as I say, has a mystical association with the Sun here for me as well. So the Sun, the double Sun, is going to be illuminating your path forward. Leo is going to give you confidence and creativity, while Jupiter will bestow an expansiveness upon you and development. This is about victory, success, clarity, breakthrough, the unification of energy. You're going to really feel inspired to continue on with the things that you get. Do you know what? I think you could also be getting recognition from other people, and you might enjoy being in the limelight, I would say. And that's in the month of Thanksgiving, November. Finally, we come to justice. Well, this is a very intricate painting here. The woman signifying justice has a sophisticated face. Well, she must, because she is discriminating and knowledgeable. Her dress is red and blue with gold lining. Her headdress is comprised of 3 towers here. See those 3 towers on the top of her with the doors on them? And they are just like the temple of the great fertility goddess Diana of Ephesus. Now she wears a golden braid which is on her very long and around her very long and graceful neck there, and the neckline on her dress is shaped like an anchor, isn't it? Now in her right hand she holds a sword, and in the left hand a scale. Now she's surrounded by a rather curious arch here. This archway, this is all made up of, this pillar of this arch is all made up of female breasts, which again is a reference to that fertility goddess Diana of Ephesus, because her holy image depicts a woman with a multitude of breasts. And on the top here, there is a woman, a very athletic woman, who I would say is an Amazon that's riding that horse there. 2 suns provide illumination over the scene here. Now this is Venus ruling Libra with Saturn exalted. Libra emphasizes that the energy of this card is about balance and equilibrium, and there's a great degree of karma coming through for you here as well. The card really is about self-control, and you might need some self-control in your month of December during your period here. But there's also here justice for you, balance, adjusting things around you, perhaps the suspension of action pending a decision. You'll be very objective and standing back as well. The balancing of opposites and centering will be very important to you here. I think you'll be bringing your finances into balance, which is good to see. It can also be a time when, interestingly, you can find that marriage turns up. Anyway, what a great year for you. That's the way it is for you this year. Well, I thought that was fascinating, didn't you? It looks like you're going to have a fantastic year ahead of you, probably your best year ever, if I'm any judge of these things. Oh, I think you've got everything going for you, and so you should have too. Now remember, I want to see you in the monthly readings, so don't miss out on those. They're far more in depth than what we've just done now. But until then, remember one thing, and remember it always, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, it's bye for now.